Stephen A. Smith, Sheryl Swoopes exchange barbs over Caitlin Clark, haterade. The ongoing drama between ESPN's Stephen A. Smith and WNBA legend Sheryl Swoopes over the treatment of Iowa star Caitlin Clark reached new heights over the holiday weekend, with Smith accusing Swoopes of throwing haterade in Clark's direction. The tension began when Swoopes failed to mention Clark during a discussion about the Indiana Fever on her Queens of the Court podcast last week, prompting Smith to call her out publicly. Smith did not hold back in his critique, stating that Clark's omission was not accidental, but rather a deliberate snub fueled by resentment. Caitlin Clark should have been on Team USA, Smith said, and we're also right that there's been some haterade thrown in her direction, because there's no excuse to have resentment toward her. Smith further accused Swoopes of showing immaturity, calling her reaction to his criticism unprofessional and overly defensive. We don't want to address the elephant in the room, but we ain't gonna run from it today because Sheryl Swoopes made news. She made news last week when she sat up there and applauded the Indiana Fever, but then forgot to mention Caitlin Clark. She jumped all in my ass because I sat up there and said, "How you gonna ignore Caitlin Clark? You know what she brings to the table. How you just gonna ignore her? That's not an accident. How you gonna mention the Indiana Fever without Caitlin Clark's name even coming up?" Sheryl Swoopes engages in levels of immaturity. There's no way to slice it, Smith said. Swoopes, who has been at odds with several figures in the basketball community over her opinions on Clark, responded on social media, defending her right to focus on whichever players she chose to discuss, questioning why Smith took issue with her choices. "You talk about whomever and whatever you want to on your podcast, correct? So why can't I?" Swoopes had said.